Observe the way modern campaigns function. We reward those with the highest ambition, those who fight the hardest to win. But the drive to obtain power is often the exact opposite of the temperament needed to wield it. Plato addressed this paradox in his Republic. He suggested that the most capable captain for the ship of state is the one looking at the stars to navigate, rather than the one fighting the crew for the helm. We usually define justice as an external system, a series of courts, laws, and fair transactions. Socrates dismantled these definitions by showing how easily simple rules fail. If you borrow a weapon from a friend who later loses his mind, returning that weapon is technically paying a debt, yet doing so is clearly a harmful, unjust act. To Plato, justice is not a checklist of behaviors, but an internal harmony. It is a state where every part of a complex system performs its specific function without interfering with the others. Since laws only act on behavior from the outside, they cannot produce this harmony on their own. Fixing a broken political system requires fashioning that internal moral balance within the citizens first. Plato argued that the state is the individual soul written large. A society is simply a collection of its citizens' characters. You cannot expect a just outcome from a population that lacks internal order. He divided the individual soul into three competing parts: reason, which seeks truth; spirit, which seeks honor; and appetite, which seeks physical gratification. These psychological parts correspond to three specific classes in the ideal state. Reason is embodied by the rulers, spirit by the warriors, and appetite by the producers and workers. Order is achieved only when reason guides the other two. In the state, this means the philosophers, those driven by reason, must hold the highest authority to ensure the survival of the whole. When a leader is driven primarily by ego or appetite, the state follows a regular order of decline. Without a rational mind at the top to restrain those lower impulses, the system eventually collapses into tyranny. This creates a difficult requirement: the Philosopher-King. The most qualified leader is the person who loves truth more than power, and because they value truth, they have no desire to rule. This sits in direct opposition to modern political realities, where the system rewards those who master debate tactics and secure financial backing specifically because they want the office. Plato's solution was a multi-decade educational pipeline. He believed that the capacity to lead is developed through a rigorous sequence of physical and mental trials. Phase 1 focuses on music, art, and gymnastics. This phase is designed to instill a baseline of emotional and physical grace in a child's mind before they ever encounter a formal lecture. Phase 2 shifts to advanced mathematics and dialectic. This trains the mind to identify objective truths and universal principles, moving beyond the mere memorization of facts. In the final phase, these students must return to the cave. They are required to undertake the burden of public office as a mandatory service, ensuring they rule out of duty rather than ambition. Take a moment to pause the video. Based on this idea, write down one change you would make to modern elections to ensure that only wise, reluctant leaders are chosen for office. True leadership is a weight that must be placed on those whose education has made them resistant to the corruptions of power. It cannot be left to those who volunteer for it out of pride. We can distill these ancient theories into a modern framework for developing better civic leaders within our own institutions. Step 1 is prioritizing emotional balance in early education. By using the arts and physical discipline to teach self-regulation, we create a foundation for character before we ever teach academic theory. Step 2 requires shifting our curriculum toward dialectic, teaching students how to question their own assumptions and seek objective truth rather than simply accepting the opinions of others. Step 3 is the requirement of mandatory civic action. Graduation from this pipeline must involve practical public service, mirroring the philosopher's return to the community to apply their knowledge. Methodical. This framework establishes 3 core rules. Internal balance must precede external laws. Political power must be paired with genuine wisdom, and education is a permanent civic duty. A just society is not something we can legislate from the top down. It is built from the inside out, starting with a system that identifies and prepares those who are wise enough to lead but humble enough to hesitate.